Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Outdoor Adventures podcast on Brownfield. I'm Brent Barnett, and continuing our discussions this week leading into the upcoming archery season this fall. It's really crazy as we talk here in mid-August that it's fastly approaching. We just had a guest on from Missouri Department of Conservation this past week talking about their September 15th archery opener. October 1st is the opener in Iowa, and joining me is my friend Kent Boucher from here in Iowa. And Kent, great to have you back on the show. How's it going, man?
Hey, thanks, Brent. It's always good to come back onto your show and get a chance to talk with your listeners. Yeah, it's going well. It's busy. It's harvest season right now on our farm at Hoxie Native Seeds. We grow 38 different species of native grasses and flowers. And so like yesterday, I had the windrower out and I worked a little late and harvested 3 species. Well, not harvested, just swath. I'll harvest them this weekend with a pull-type combine. And I did another one on Tuesday night, and we've already harvested about, probably getting close to 10 species already this summer that we're completely done harvesting. So we've got a long ways to go yet. It's busy, but I'm starting to think deer thoughts.
Absolutely. I think in one of our discussions, maybe last year, we had talked about, getting prepped with archery equipment and practicing with our bows. And last year I felt very prepared coming into season. I think I had set aside like 2, maybe 3 times a week, all the way from winter through spring and summer that I was out shooting at least even just a handful of arrows a day. And it's complete opposite this year. Time's gotten away from me, and just last week I got it out for the first time. But hey, now is better than never, I guess.
That's right. And you're if you got your bow out, you're already a step ahead of me. I still got to blow the dust off mine and make sure I, don't put the bloody arrow back in my quiver from last season. But no, we're getting to that crunch time now. I think after you've stacked up enough hunting seasons, your preparation to some degree flows from season to season. So busting the bow out, in mid-August or even into early September, I wouldn't wait longer than that. That gives you a chance for that muscle memory to pick back up, and also gives you enough time to identify, is there something wrong with your equipment? Maybe your string is a little more frayed than you remembered. Maybe your peep got bumped around a little bit, or your actual bow sight is loose or something like that. You got time to get stuff fixed and adjusted before the season rolls around. So it's a good practice to get out for all those things. But I need to find the time to do the same myself.
Anything new for you this deer season, either preparation, different tactic you're going to try? So just, for example, for me, this year a first was going on a summer scouting mission. Yeah. You helped introduce me to Caleb Drake on your Backwoods Bulletin podcast on your First Gen Hunter Network. And Caleb and I here a few weeks ago on a really, really hot day, we went right through the thick of some timber on some public place that I had tried to hunt last year without any luck. And man, it was challenging just with the heat and the overgrown, all the plants and the bush honeysuckle and the timber and stuff. But it was actually really educational. We found some areas that you could tell the deer were using frequently, some nice entry and exit points using some creeks and ditches. And I'm really excited to see how that pays off this year. How about you? Anything like that?
Yeah, Caleb told me about that. I think you woke the sleeping monster there. He's like chomping at the bit now for deer season. So, no, I watched your guys' video. It was great. And I'm glad you guys are able to start, building that friendship there. And it's a ton of fun. I've done a little bit of evening scouting, driving around with binoculars, trying to see what's out. And it's been, I've seen a couple of real nice bucks so far this year. I'm not currently, I do have two, I guess I have 2 cell cameras out right now. One I need to go switch the batteries on, but the other one is in Illinois. And I will be hunting Illinois this year, but I'm actually not hunting that farm. It's my brother just picked up a farm he bought this last spring, and so I'm kind of helping him figure out how to hunt that place. And my brother-in-law is going to hunt that place with him, and so it's fun just monitoring what's out there. But as far as like getting into the timber, I have not done it yet. I think I will go in and put up a camera here soon. I mean, maybe even this weekend, and try and do that just to allow that thing to soak for a little while and the human scent to kind of, mitigate before the season starts. But to be honest with you, Brent, it's been a really, really busy year for me. My boss, who I farmed with for 3 years, just passed away this spring, and so
I'm sorry, man.
Yeah, appreciate that. And then thankfully I got some great coworkers that help me out, but I am the production manager, and so all production responsibility for the most part falls on my shoulders. And so many of your listeners, knowing that this is going out to a lot of farmers, can probably remember the time when they lost their dad on their farming operation, or a grandfather or something like that, somebody that they were sharing the burden with, and can think back to just how that changes the demand for where you need to be and when you need to be there, that kind of thing. So that's going to definitely affect this deer season for me. But I'm kind of excited about that too, because I am through time. I think we kind of find out who we are through time a little bit, or we should. And I am finding that I am not the big trail camera guy. I run a few of them. For years, I didn't run any. Up front, I ran a bunch. And then that kind of slowly dialed back to just a couple. And for several years, I basically wasn't running any. And now I'm kind of back to running a few. And so I'm not a huge, name the buck and figure out, here comes 2-ton Toby with the drop time and the big bases or something like that. That's just not me. I don't have any, nothing against the people who like doing that. I think that's just where they find their satisfaction. And for me, I kind of like the surprise aspect of it, and I like the adapting to the circumstances that present themselves. Right. I like the idea of hunting weather conditions and making moves based on those conditions, and going off of recent sign that I've read and mapped out. A lot of my scouting is done, of course, during shed season. I drop a lot of waypoints, and I, historically go back to that. Also hunt off of historical knowledge, which you have to be careful with. I just heard a great point on my friend Travis Frank. He hosts the Flush podcast, which is a bird hunting podcast, an upland bird hunting podcast. And he talked about not hunting memories, or somebody did on that podcast. It was an interview with several people. And I think that's a good point. Like, for all hunting, the woods change, the habitat changes, the crop rotation changes. Right. And so you can use that past knowledge a little bit, but you need to adapt to the circumstances. And so that brings me to where my biggest change is going into this season is kind of playing off of last year. Last year, I got into saddle hunting for the first time. I'd done mobile hunting in the past, where I used an old Lone Wolf Assault hang-on tree stand and Lone Wolf climbing sticks. And I had done that some, but honestly, as revolutionary as that setup was when it came out, it's still pretty heavy, right? Like, I think that stand is like something like 9 pounds or 11 pounds or something. And the sticks are, they're probably, collectively, I don't know, maybe 6 pounds or something like that. The old style climbing sticks. Since then, Lone Wolf has upgraded, and they have one of the lightest stands that you can find. But I I even was looking at that. I saw that the saddle is it's definitely lighter, right? And you can wear it on your way in. So it's not an extra thing to carry, which I really like that idea. So I used that last year. I still used my old Lone Wolf climbing sticks though. And this year, well, I guess I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit. I used that saddle a ton, way more than would hunt with my Lone Wolf in the past. Like almost every hunt last year was out of my saddle. There were a few where I had some pre-hung stands that I used, a few hunts like that, but almost everything else was done from the tree saddle, including new farms that I'd never hunted before. I just was able to find a tree and get in it, and in both cases, actually, Brent, I passed deer when I hunted those brand new farms with a saddle. I was able to not only hunt that new farm, but get into a tree without cutting any lanes, without cutting any, prepping any trees, getting any limbs out of the way or anything. I was able to find trees and actually pass on shot opportunities. And so that all to say, saddle, I quickly learned was a game changer. I filled my buck tag, my archery buck tag on November 9th last year from a saddle, hunting some fresh intel that I had. And this year, though, I'm going to hopefully make that process even better. I picked up a set of Emmett Enyart, a guy who lives close by us. He has a company called Cat Tracks, and he designed the world's lightest climbing sticks. They're all carbon fiber, and I'm going to just give you like a little taste of how light these suckers are. My birthday was last week, and I don't know, it was a few days before my birthday. Maybe it was like the Friday before my birthday. I got this box in the mail that was addressed to me. And, when I get home from work, I got 4 kids that are running at me. I'm busy or whatever. All I could see was I had a box and it was time to eat supper and that kind of thing. And so I kind of forgot that I had the box, right? I picked it up and I shook it around and I'm like, oh, it must, maybe somebody sent me a book for my birthday. And I was like, yeah, it's kind of a big box for a book, but whatever. Well, I mentioned to my wife while we were here, I was like, oh yeah, what was that box that came for me today? And she's like, I don't know. It came from somewhere called Cat Tracks. And I'm like, what? The sticks that I had pre-ordered, back this February or something like that. So there was a pre-order process. They all started shipping in August, and my sticks had shown up, and they were so light, like all of them put together, like all 4 of the sticks packed together. I thought somebody had sent me like a book in the mail. That's how light. I'm not kidding you. My 3-year-old, I think, could carry them to the stand. Like she could handle these sticks. That's how light they are. So I'm very excited about using those this year, and just how much that frees me up. The longer I hunt, the more I realize that having less gear going to the stand is so important, because it allows you to be so mobile, hunting the fresh sign. And as valuable as trail camera information can be, as valuable as historic information and summer scouting sessions, we all know that patterns change from summer to fall. And being able to hunt the most recent intel is always the best thing you have going for you. And pre-hung stands do not allow for that, really, unless you got lucky and you put one up in the exact right spot earlier in the summer or spring. Otherwise, you're kind of, it is what it is. You got to adjust and get a new stand in the tree or get in the saddle. So I'm going to go as light as I possibly can. Saddle and the lightest climbing sticks on the market. And that's going to be my biggest adjustment going into this year.
I'm excited to hear how that works for you, man, and just getting used to the new climbing sticks and another year under your belt of saddle hunting. That'll be It'll be really exciting to hear those updates throughout the year from you.
Yeah.
For me personally, man, last year, so I got my first first public land deer ever. And that also happened to be the first one I ever took from the ground as well.
Yeah.
I'm so fired up about that. I don't know if I'll get in a tree this year. I want to hunt the ground again, man. I was moving around last year like crazy, bumping from spot to spot. And for where you and I are in the state, you and I are relatively close together. I saw a lot of people posting online this past season about that they thought deer numbers were down, weren't seeing a lot of deer movement in our area. Man, it was completely opposite for me. I think I saw more deer in bow range last year than any other season of my life. And I think a lot of that was because I wasn't just sticking to one property on public. I was going to different properties, different places. I would make the moves if I felt I needed to go somewhere else. And I just think that really paid off. So I'm excited to try that again this year.
Yeah, I think we are. I mean, we know what the data is, that we've lost a lot of deer to EHD. That affects the area we live in, of course, unfortunately. And so, yeah, I expect numbers to appear down. I know I noticed signs of that last year. I saw, probably the fewest number of older age class bucks that I've seen yet. So, I mean, that would seem to be a population effect coming out of that. But, we've had plenty of water this year. I don't think EHD is a risk that's of a high concern this year, which is good. So I'm hoping, over the next few years, we see a very nice rebound for the population. I do get concerned about habitat destruction and elimination because you can't rebound a population to a home that does not exist. So, that is a concerning factor for me still, that I think we're going to probably be unhappy with when we see a rebound from this latest back-to-back EHD bad years. But all in all, I'm optimistic. I think we still have a lot of deer in Iowa, and I think we still have the best deer herd in the country, and I think we have the best regulations protecting them, and so that helps a lot as well. And I had a good shed season this year. I think it was my second best shed season ever, and so that was encouraging. So I think there's from a deer standpoint, it's definitely not going to be as good as it was in, say, like 2020 or 2021, but I think it'll be better than it was last year, maybe even the year before that.
Let's get some final thoughts here before we break on this week's show. Again, Kent Boucher joining us from Iowa. Kent knows this because I'm pretty sure I called him last year when it happened, but I missed the biggest buck of my life. A little bit of a lengthy shot with the bow. Clean miss over his back. Kent, I've played that shot over and over in my head since that day. Do you think I'll get him this year?
Well, it's hard to say. There's the, of course I want to tell you yes, but there's always the chance that, and honestly, this is, you hear often, like, you want to kill big bucks, or great bucks, you got to stop shooting good bucks, which I totally agree with. I think the hardest part of implementing that is knowing that they are wild animals that do not understand property boundaries, that also do not understand how to stay out of the dang highway when they need to, and
good point.
have to survive the Orange Army and the gun season and everything else. So who knows, that buck could be on somebody else's wall or in somebody's freezer already. But if he's still around, I think you got the intel that, you went where he was living, or at least spending some time. And if you go back enough times, that would be a case where I would definitely be putting up a camera to try and gather some more intel there, see if I can't figure out more of what he's doing and how often he frequents the area, that kind of thing. But yeah, I'd say there's definitely a chance as long as he's still alive.
That's true. Yeah, probably slim chances at this point, but it was quite the memorable hunt. I'll always remember that one, and I wasn't beating myself up over it, but it's just cool to look back on that day because I had never had a deer of that size in bow range before.
Yeah.
So that was quite a milestone. But
Absolutely, man. That's what it's all about, right?
exactly. Kent, any final thoughts from you? Thoughts on the deer season coming up?
Yeah. First of all, it's what we have all been waiting for, right? Regardless of how busy we may be in the off season, it's always in the back of our minds that October 1 is rolling around. And, I think just going in and doing what you do well, capitalize on that first and foremost. Of course, every season there should be a list of weaknesses that we have in our mind that we need to strengthen. Maybe that's better shot placement. Maybe it's being better with our scent control, better with our noise level, being less distracted while we're in the stand. Maybe hunting on the ground when we need to hunt on the ground, and hunting in a tree when we need to hunt in the tree. Whatever those areas of improvement we need to make, we need to keep them in mind, of course. But we need to first and foremost use our strengths to our advantage. The season, in some ways, is long. It goes from October through halfway through January. And if you got young kids like I do that are old enough to go out and do deer season, it starts even 2 weeks before that with the youth season. And there's even some people that'll hunt the extra late season for the CWD management. And so there's all of those aspects that are all that time that we have to go through the season, but we should find a way to capitalize on what we're good at. So maybe for me, one of my strong suits is hunting the early muzzleloader season. I feel very comfortable figuring out what deer are doing that time of year. So I always try to get a tag then. It's a little
Noel Gandy said you're the king of early muzz.
That's nice of him. I don't know if I'm the king of anything, but no, I love early muzz. I've had a ton of success that time of year. And so one year I didn't hunt it, and I hunted late muzzleloader instead, and I regretted it immensely. So go with what your strong suit is for sure. Lean into those strengths, but try and have a few things on your list that you want to improve on, because that's what's going to carry you into success year after year after year. Hunting changes, the game changes, the habitat changes. Our skills and abilities change too as we age. So it's always good to work on new skills a little bit, but definitely lean into your strengths. And have fun with it.
Exactly.
It's about the deer. It's not about us, right? I think that's probably a philosophical thing I would love to see more deer hunters adopt, is that it's about the ecosystem. It's about this natural place that we get to enjoy. And if we start making it all about ourselves, then those things become degraded.
Yeah. And one thing I'll add, I think the deer hunting community, and I don't want to overgeneralize here, but there's a large portion that will put down people for the deer that they harvest based on either age or size or whatever. Man, just hunt and take and harvest whatever works for you, right?
Yeah, that's right. And I think that, my philosophy on this evolves over time. I think that first and foremost, know what you want and go and hunt with that, and be sure of what you want, and don't let somebody else define what that is for you. But if you're really wanting to grow as a hunter, your growth is going to be stunted if you always shoot at the first thing you see, right? And a long time ago, I think I heard this on the Wired to Hunt podcast. It might have been Steve Bartilla. Never hear from that guy anymore. He needs to get back out there more. I always enjoyed hearing from Steve, but I think it was Steve Bartilla was on Wired to Hunt. I think he was the one that made the point that if you're tagging out early, regardless of what age class the buck is, you're cutting your chance to learn short, right? Because essentially school's out early. You know what I mean? The longer you're in the stand, the more you can learn about hunting deer, right? The more you can learn about the woods, the more you can learn about, the rhythm of the ecosystem around you. And the more that you learn from that, the deadlier you get as a hunter. And so if you rush, to the end to fill that tag all the time, then you're really shortchanging yourself on how much you can learn from a season. And if you want to accomplish the goal of shooting, older age class deer or bigger deer, then, you are going to have to keep your finger off the trigger when some, bucks that are pretty nice come walking by. But again, kind of going back to what you're saying, know what you're after. And hunt your own hunt. Don't be hunting for somebody else. Shoot what makes you happy, but know too that there's real ramifications for that. A good friend of mine, Steve Hansen, he says this line that I think is a pretty smart way to look at it. He says, "We can all shoot big deer if we all shoot big deer," and what he means by that is if we all hold off on younger age class bucks, well, then eventually we'll have a lot of older age class bucks walking around. And so, but maybe you don't care so much about shooting big deer, and that's okay. That's totally fine. That's 100% fine. So shoot whatever makes you happy. But there are real consequences to when you do and do not decide to squeeze off that shot. And you can pass enough deer into an empty freezer too. So keep that in mind too. But don't be afraid to shoot some does.
Yeah. Kent, if I'm shaking, I'm shooting, man. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, that's a good way to look at it. That's a good way to look at it.
First deer that always walks by, it could just be a doe or even a doe fawn, and my legs are already trembling. Yeah. I don't know why.
There's just something about it, man. It goes way back to our ancestry in hunting.
Yep, no doubt. Well, hey, good to catch up with you, and we'll be sure to have you on again later in the season. Hopefully we've got 2 bucks on the ground.
Hey, I love that. I love the sound of that, and I'm looking forward to a good season for both of us.
Kent Boucher joining us here on Outdoor Adventures. Always appreciate you joining us here on the program. I'm Brent Barnett here on Brownfield Ag News. Thanks for watching Outdoor Adventures.